Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. Today, we're diving into a powerful argument that reframes modern incarceration, not as a broken system, but as one that's working exactly as designed.
Our guide for this is Angela Ye Davis's incredible collection of essays, The Meaning of Freedom. This book really challenges you to look past the headlines, beyond the statistics, and see the deep architecture of the American prison system.
So here's the central idea, and it's a real paradigm shift. We're often told that mass incarceration is just the result of some bad policy choices, or maybe a few failed reforms. But Davis argues that what we're actually looking at is not a series of mistakes, but a coherent, deliberately designed system.
On one hand, you have the conventional view, right? That mass incarceration is just a collection of isolated policy failures, bad laws or flawed reforms that we can just tweak and fix. But Davis's analysis suggests something much, much deeper. A coherent system that's really just a modern version of historical methods of racialized labor control, reorganized for today through new legal and economic structures. So how is this system actually designed? How is it sustained? Let's use a metaphor here. I want you to think of the prison-industrial complex not just as a bunch of buildings, but as a kind of operating system that's running invisibly in the background of our society. This whole thing is built on a powerful reinforcing loop. First, you've got legal statutes like three-strikes laws that create a steady supply of people for the system. That feeds directly into political incentives because, let's face it, tough-on-crime rhetoric wins votes. And that, in turn, fuels a whole web of economic contracts. We're talking for-profit prisons, construction companies, service providers. They all have a financial stake in keeping the system growing. See how each part just fuels the next? And that brings us to the crucial point. We see the individual cases play out on the screen, the arrests, the trials, all of it. But it's this deeper code, this carceral operating system, that's really determining the outcomes. It's the program running in the background that dictates how a case is handled before a single piece of evidence is even presented.
This quote from Davis just gets to the absolute heart of the disconnect. What she's arguing is that we need to separate the idea of crime from the idea of punishment. The system's underlying code, which is influenced by race, class, and economic incentives, is often what really determines who gets punished, way more than the specific act itself. And this underlying architecture, well, that's what makes the system so incredibly resilient, even when people are calling for reform. So let's take a look at why it persists.
This is such a critical insight. Davis points out that the system is literally designed to absorb and neutralize reform efforts. Well-intentioned changes can actually get co-opted, and they often end up making the system even stronger because they only address the symptoms while leaving all the underlying legal, political, and economic incentives totally intact.
The system's resilience also comes from its incredible global reach. I mean, this isn't just an isolated American issue. It's deeply interconnected with global labor markets, immigration enforcement, the privatization of public services, and even the marketing of U.S.-style prisons around the world. So when we try to analyze incarceration in a vacuum, we create a crisis in perception. We completely miss these critical connections.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, by shifting our focus away from individual actions and onto this larger systemic design, the book completely changes how we approach questions of justice and freedom. The argument really encourages us to stop asking only about individual wrongdoing and to start analyzing the structure that produces these outcomes. Instead of seeing racism as some kind of individual irregularity, as Davis calls it, we're pushed to see how it's actually built into the very foundation of the system itself.
And this massive reframing, it leaves us with a really provocative final question. If punishment isn't a logical consequence of crime, and if the system itself is designed to perpetuate inequality, then what does real justice actually look like?
This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon. For a longer, audio-based analysis of this topic, see the deep dive linked in the description. If you enjoy this kind of a systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.